Hi, my name's Ted Pattison. I'm a software instructor at Critical Path Training. Today, I'm going to show you a demo of a real-time dashboard in Power BI. Our scenario starts in the state of Florida, near where I live in the Tampa-St. Pete area. If I drive a little bit to the north, I'll get to the town of Lutz. Lutz is famous for alpacas and alpaca farms. There's more alpaca farms per alpaca capita than any other town in the world. Lutz has lots of alpaca farmers, including, there he is, my good friend, Luther Ray Garp. The protagonist of our story is Joseph Patrick McMurphy. He's been a consumer advocate, a hostage negotiator, Tony Award winner, archaeologist, entrepreneur. Many of us think of him as the most interesting man in the world. But most importantly, he's an alpaca farmer named Alpaca Joe. Here's where our plot thickens. Donald Trump came to Sarasota to give a campaign speech. He mixed with the good people of Florida, and reporters gave an electrifying speech to a crazed mass of Trump supporters. As the Donald headed back to the bus after the speech, he was led through a field with two peaceful, law-abiding alpacas. Donald didn't like the alpacas and used his words to express himself. Within minutes, Trump's comments were broadcast on CNN, and Alpaca Joe took to social media to call for an apology. All the major news networks were quick to pick up on the emerging feud between Trump and Alpaca Joe. Even the industry's most respected journalists were eager to pour gas on the fire in search of higher ratings. A Twitter war ensued. And while the Donald might be able to out-tweet the likes of Jeb Bush and Bernie Sanders, he wasn't at all prepared to deal with the nimble tweetsmanship of Alpaca Joe. Alpaca Joe decided to take on Trump and the alpaca injustice by running for president if he could only raise $1 million in campaign contributions. Alpaca Joe reached out to me and Luther Ray to stand up his campaign contributions website. We had to write code to call to a credit card authority, charge the credit card, and to create and update a dashboard in the Power BI service. Okay, it's time to get started with the demo. Let's move over to the Power BI service. Now I could use a group workspace, or I'm going to use, in this case, my own personal workspace. Now I'm going to go ahead and launch the program that Luther Ray and I wrote. And what this program is going to do, not only is charge credit cards against the credit card authority, but it's also going to create a new data set in the Power BI service in my personal workspace. Now the program is asking me to log on, so it has my identity. Now the first thing it does is it creates a data set. You can see the data set that was just created. By the way, behind the scenes, we're using the Power BI REST API to create the new data set. Now, once we see the data set, we don't have any reports or dashboards yet, so we're going to have to go ahead and create those in real time. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take the report that we've created from this data set, and reports have multiple pages, and I'll create one page, which is contribution summary, and a second one, contribution by city, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to save the report. Now we have a report, but the report's empty. We have to add some visuals, or what we call visualizations, to the report. So there are different visualization types in the visualizations list. And so I'm going to take the card visualization, which basically can show a single value at a time, and then we're going to go ahead and count the number of contributors, which should give us basically a count of contributions. Now we'll also do a couple cosmetics. I'm going to go ahead and give a better title to our particular visualization. Let's go ahead and save it. Now, note that if I refresh the report, it shows the most recent information. So instead of having to refresh, let's go ahead and take this visualization and add it as a tile on a dashboard. One of the big benefits of the dashboard is that they update in real time, unlike reports where you have to refresh them. So there we go. We got five contributions so far. I'm also going to go ahead and get rid of the Q&A search box. But now let's go ahead and wait for it. Come on, we need another contributor. We need number 6. How are we ever going to make $1 million if we don't get another contribution inside? Oh, there we go. Okay, so now we got our 6th contribution. Now we're going to go back into report design mode. And so we're going to create a second visual. This one will be a card that's going to show the total amount of contributions. So we'll take the amount and we'll go ahead and summarize that. Now we'll also do a couple more cosmetics. One of the things I want to do is get rid of the thing that will show us in thousands or millions. I want to see the straight number. Also, we'll go ahead and put a different title on this. And once we've got the title in place, well, we're going to take this visual and we're going to add that to the dashboard as well. So I'll go ahead, save the report, and now we'll take our visual, we'll add it inside there. Now we'll go back and look at our dashboard. Hey, we've got 46 contributions at this point. Things are going up. 54, hey, things are going in a positive direction. Okay, now let's go ahead and go to our other report page, which is contributions by city. And what we'd like to do is get a listing of cities and what are the total contributions from each of those cities. So we're going to use a table visual, and we'll go ahead and we'll add the city into values and also the amount. And note that the amount needs to be summed. And now what I want to do is I want to see this a little bit closer. So we're going to go ahead and change the view to actual. And notice that if you click on the heading, you can get a sorting inside there. Okay, so now let's go ahead and save that. Let's take this visual and let's pin that to our dashboard as well. Now note that when you move around the dashboard, dashboards will snap their tiles into location. And that's because they are optimized for mobile devices. Now I'm going to go back to the report. I'm going to go back into design or report edit mode. And now we're going to add a map visual. Because what we like to see is a geographic distribution of where our contributions are coming in from. So what we're then going to do is sum the amount, but we'll also take the city. And now that we have the city, well, that blue is not sticking up very well. So let's go ahead and change the color. Maybe since we're taking on Trump, we'll go with red just to basically go against his red hair. We'll go ahead and save. We'll take this particular visual. We'll pin this up here. Let's go back and take a look what our dashboard looks like. Now let's use the dashboard to see how we're doing. Looks like the folks in Davis Island are contributing their fair share amount. The enlisted folks down in MacDill Air Force Base with their no alpaca left behind. We have some folks in Lutz, Tarpon Springs, Palm Harbor. We're looking good here. Now we're going to extend the dashboard to show the incoming velocity of contributions. So back in report edit mode, we're going to add a new visual, an area chart, and what we're going to be able to do is look at the amount of contributions that come in a particular tumbling window of 30 seconds. So once I've got this particular visual, we're going to change the color. We're going to go ahead, save the report, and now let's go ahead and take this and pin it to the dashboard. Now, it's going to take me just a second to straighten this out, and I'm not the most mouse-savvy guy in the world, but after a second, I can basically figure out, how to get that tile into the dashboard. And so now I can see basically the incoming velocity of contributions in 30-second tumbling windows. Okay, that's great. We'll go back and we'll take a look at our other tile, which now we can see how things are increasing. Now, when we look at this one particular tile right here, I start noticing that, hey, there's this problem, and that is contributions have been going up in every 30-second window until recently. And now I'm getting really nervous because I see things are starting to flatten out. It's really beginning to appear to me that something has gone wrong. And now I'm starting to think maybe we shouldn't have hosted the web server in Luther Ray's house up in Lutz, but maybe we should have gone with hosting it in Azure up in the cloud. Something's got to be wrong out at Luther's house. Better call Luther and figure out what's going on. Luther, pick up. Pick up.
Hey, this is Luther Ray.
Luther, we got a serious problem. We've lost the connection between the credit card authority and the contribution website.
Okay, yeah, I see what the problem is. One of my house alpacas chewed through the cable. Let me go ahead and replace the cable. That should get us all back online.
Do whatever you need to do to get us back up and running.
Okay, looks like the connection's been restored. I bet your pulse went up there a little bit, didn't it? Haha.
Luther, did you say house alpaca? You have an alpaca in your house?
Yeah, I got a couple different house alpacas, but only the ones that we could domesticate.
Don't you think it's a little bit strange to have alpacas living in your house?
What do you mean? We're not romantic or anything.
Luther, it's strange to have an alpaca in your house, even when the two of you have a platonic relationship.
Look, you want to keep jawboning about how much better you are than me? Or do you want to get Alpaca Joe into the White House?
Point taken, Luther. We're both on the same team. Let's focus and move forward. Okay, now let's drill down, and it looks like now the velocity of the incoming contributions is a lot higher. Okay, that's great. Now, let's go ahead and extend the dashboard with a couple new tiles. We'll start by going back to our report in edit mode. And first, we're going to add a tile, which is a card, which is going to show us the contribution goal of $1 million. Now, we'll go down and we'll put some formatting in place, just like we did with the other cards inside there. Now, once we have this particular card visual in place, well, I want to create a second visual. Now, let's go ahead and we've pinned the first one to the dashboard. Now we'll go back there and I could create a new visual based on the tile, but I don't want to use a tile in this case. I want to use a visualization type of gauge. So we'll go ahead and we'll add the gauge. Now the gauge is going to show us the amount of contributions, but the gauge also allows us to have a goal. We'll put the goal inside there. Now I also find that with a gauge, you want to add a third value, which is the maximum value. And that makes the gauge a lot easier to read for the user. In some dashboards, a gauge is just a gauge. In our dashboard, this gauge is the alpaca meter. It's the thing that measures our resistance against alpaca injustice. Now, let's lighten up a bit. Let's go ahead and pin these two tiles to our dashboard. Now, once we've assembled our dashboard, it looks pretty good in the browser. Let's try it out on my Windows phone. Now, on my Windows phone, I've installed the Power BI app. Now, when I drill into the Power BI app, what you'll see is that I can switch back and forth between my personal workspace and any of the other group workspaces I'm a member of. When I bring up the dashboard on my Windows phone, all the tiles take up the entire width of the screen. Now, there's the alpaca meter. We can see it change in real time, just like it would if you had the Power BI app installed on your iPhone or your Android. Also, if I click or tap on one of the tiles, such as our map, I can drill in and get a better view. Another really neat feature is that you can pin the dashboard to your Windows start screen. So now I have something where I can simply go right from my start page and drill into the dashboard. Okay, now it's starting to look like we're getting close. Back in the browser here, there we are at 975. Not very far to go. Alpaca Joe, I think I can tell you we have your $1 million. That felt so good, I think we should do it one more time. Power BI, you've caught my eye. Your dashboards are dope, your tiles are sly. Whatever you do, wherever you go, don't forget to vote for Alpaca Joe.